Man, welcome back to another episode of the Think Successfully Room. This is a platform where we focus on building mindsets. We building character, bringing value to both you and your people. I'm your host, QB So Effing Amazing. This is Tiffany Ingram. And together we talk about the evolution of technology, which we all know is artificial intelligence. Tiff, how you feeling?
Really good. Really
That's
good.
That's good to hear. That's definitely good to hear, especially
How are
with
you?
I'm trying to get through these gas prices.
Child.
This, I'm stuttering and shit. I can't even sit here and imagine. Like, it's crazy. I don't even want to go nowhere unless I absolutely have to. Like, gas prices are so crazy right now. And I just feel right now, we gonna get into our AI thing, but right now, managing your money is that's
huge.
a powerful thing right now. That's a huge thing right now because gas prices is I never seen it this high in our area. You know what I'm saying? So you being able to rebalance your money and reallocate things and cut things from over here to be able to, put more money towards gas, that's a powerful thing right now. So you got to get to it. But besides that, Tiff, yeah, we talked about a situation at Stanford.
Princeton.
What was the name? Princeton University. University. So I'm gonna try to create some type of scene for the audience, right? So imagine if we are in like this packed just hallway, right? It's the year of 1893. Students are in this hallway, final exam is happening, and the teachers, the professors, they do something crazy. They leave the exam area and leave students by themselves, and there's nowhere one to oversee the environment, to monitor misconduct or anything. They leave that in the students' hands, right? Because that's just the code of the school. Right. So for 133 years, that was Princeton's way. They didn't, because this is an Ivy League school, right? So they trust their kids enough to not cheat on exams or tests, right? So it's something that they pledge to. Like, look, if you find or notice another student is cheating, that's your responsibility to tell on that student. So now here we are in 2026, and we're in a different time, as far as technology, right? So there was an incident at Princeton University where the children were utilizing artificial intelligence, like ChatGPT, to cheat on these exams, right? And they pretty much broke a code that's been in play for the last 133 years. So what's your thoughts on, what used to be and what's now transitioned to technology? And do you feel like the kids are at fault, or should the faculty have done something differently in that situation?
So initially when I read this article, there were a couple things that caught my attention. But I will say initially what I thought was, in a over 133-year time span, you haven't updated your processes. Guess what? It's not just AI. We said before that AI just amplified the gaps in anything.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a case in point where that's happening. And I think because they haven't updated it, now you have this massive disruption or technology disruption that I don't think they really sat down and told the kids, here are our expectations with AI. And I think that's across a lot of organizations or educational institutions. They're not explaining how AI can and can't be used, and even updating their overall honor system. Because that's what they call it, right? The honor system.
Yeah. I think in that situation, like you said, the past 133 years, I feel like as a faculty, y'all should have been keeping up with the times. Now I'm not saying the students are right for cheating, but at
Yeah.
the same time, y'all probably should have been keeping up with the times and understand that being able to cheat now is hard to catch. Like back then, when we was in school,
Mhm.
it was some effort into cheating. You had
Yeah.
to write your shit down on a piece of paper. Maybe if
Yeah.
you had a buddy that was in on it, y'all had some bird calls, or what I'm saying, it was something to
Yeah.
signal like, look, this is the answer. It
Yeah.
was some effort behind that, but now it's more discreet because we have cellular devices, right? And on those cellular
Mhm.
devices, we have Gemini, we have ChatGPT, we have Claude, we have Grok, and all of these AI tools are capable within just a few clicks, providing you with the answers that you're looking for. So if that was a concern, in order to protect the honor code, that's been there for 133 years, y'all probably should have confiscated those cellular devices with that in mind. Of how accessible AI is, what I'm saying, to make that environment more strict. And the fact that Princeton is an Ivy League school, right? I
Mhm.
I honestly believe that they probably wasn't cheating because they needed to cheat. They probably just wanted to speed up the process. You know,
Could
um,
be.
yeah, and just make it get through the test faster. At least that's what I was thinking of. Um, Now, what they should have caught was, I guess it was at some time during the exam test, everybody was lining up for the bathroom, so
Mhm.
y'all had to something had to go in y'all mind, like, what's the chances of all of these people needing to
Being
run to the restroom at the same
yeah.
time, so that should have been a red flag right there, as far as what was going on. So yeah, as far as that, Tiff, do you think like with the faculty, like in that particular situation, as far as that with the do you feel like the kids are at fault for cheating, or like what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think there's some accountability on both sides. And I'm going to
Mm,
go back a little bit and I'll come back to this. You know, if you know AI is coming and well, it's here, right? And it's going to change how students learn and how they arrive at the answer, right? So I would have even said, hey, a lot of these educational institutions need to think of ways to or utilize and leverage AI to really understand or predict a student's behavior in the application phase,
mm-hmm.
right? So if I was Princeton, and how can I build and really assess a student's ability to follow the rules, right? If the honor code is something that we hold near and dear to our hearts, how can we measure your aptitude to follow it when nobody's watching,
Right.
right? Because if students are using it and leveraging it to get to the answer, educational institutions now have to think outside the box to say, okay, how do we ensure that we get the students that will follow the culture into our educational institution? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because businesses use AI to do personality assessments and all of these other things. There may need to be a component added to, again, the assessment phase when students are coming on, right? Because
Yeah.
another part of this article is that students were afraid to report people cheating
Yeah.
because there's this no snitch mentality, even in an institution or organization where, hey, for 133 years, we have been doing this, right? My
Mm-hmm.
father's father's father, these kids know and understand Princeton's rules.
Yeah.
So to come in there and think that, hey, I can, negate what's been set for, again, decades and upon decades, that's a different thought pattern. And maybe they shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Yeah,
So your selection criteria or selection process needs to be updated. So I would even think, upstream a little bit, what can we do to ensure that, again, we're getting people in our organization that will follow our cultural rules, or they're accepting the fact that, hey, I may need to change in order to be here
yeah,
before you get to the actual incident itself. So what proactiveness can you take on before you get to a situation where a student is even allowed to cheat or allowed
hmm
the opportunity to cheat? That shouldn't have even been a thought, really.
yeah. That should have been like I said. That's something like you said. The system should have been updated. You know what I'm saying? Before
Yeah,
y'all probably wasn't confiscating certain things. In my opinion, look, we in the day in 2026, technology is prevalent. AI survives on cellular devices now. Maybe we need to
yeah.
update our system to take away certain devices during exam time. Still giving them the floor to monitor each other just without cellular devices. And I think that could have. I seen you thinking too. You got something with you. What's your,
Well, it's because you're saying a thing is like confiscate their devices. I'm talking about trust versus mistrust or distrust, right?
yeah, yeah.
If I trust you to do the right thing, right? We're all told at some point in time by our parents, by I'm gonna say this, by good parents, because your parents will
Uh,
tell you, do the right thing even when nobody's looking.
right, right.
You know what I
Okay.
mean?
So
And
so
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 if
you
you have a culture like that, why I can have my phone in my pocket. It's like you're treating me like I'm a child
I was
in an
just
adult.
my
Yeah,
fault
go
for cutting
ahead.
you off, Tiff. I wanted to make sure I was understanding. So you saying y'all trusted me enough to accept me in this school, so trust me enough to keep my cellular device.
Yeah, it should be. But I'm saying the
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah, I agree.
the the parameters should be set to where when I was in the military, right, we
Mhm.
had a system where I was responsible to for the person to my left or to my right. It wasn't
Uh-huh.
just about me, right? Even if I didn't like you, I'm responsible for you. I felt that. So if you were messing up, we were all gonna get in trouble. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of like that's the culture that they had. And somewhere along the way, it wasn't just AI showing up. They lost that, right? It's about trusting and not trusting. It's about organizations being clear on what's acceptable, what's not, and then holding people accountable. Like it's a certain order of things. I'm actually wondering, did Princeton even take the time to say, okay, here's how AI, we're going to be proactive. Here's how AI can and will disrupt our educational institution. What do we need to do to prepare for that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, my fault, Tiff. I'm sure the audio probably still came in but that whole, I want to say the last maybe 10 seconds or so, I couldn't
Oh,
hear it on my end. But
oh man.
we gonna keep that.
Okay.
It probably still caught it. So so
Hopefully
yeah,
it did.
our
I was cooking over
our
here. I
our
was like,
apologies for the difficulties, y'all. But yeah, if you don't mind, Tiff, that last maybe the last 10-15 seconds of what you said.
okay. So what I was just saying, like, there's an order to managing change, right? We all know
Mhm.
that. It's before I get to the actual test day, there's some preparation. So Princeton should have said, okay, how is AI? I know AI is changing. We're all in this new environment, but how do we predict AI is going to change the way students learn and the way we teach and the
Yeah.
culture that we have that governs how our students should act, right? Then communicate that, right? So we
Yeah.
have things built in our acceptance process. Now when you come on campus, hey, this is how AI can be used, this is how it can't. And if you violate that, right, our honor code is still in place, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I think instead of just tearing down, an honor code that's been there for over a century. Y- really, like you said, some things just could have been done differently, even if that
Mhm.
means meetings, or whether that's meetings with the faculty, whether that's emails being sent out to the kids, maybe once every quarter. Y'all have somebody that's in charge of
Mhm.
keeping up with the times, technology, keeping up with the changes, and y'all just keep everybody informed. Like, look, this is what's going on in the world now, and we have to set some guidelines in play in
Yep.
order. You know what I'm saying? Especially by us trusting you as part of this Princeton family, this Princeton University family. We trust that you're going to do the right thing. But this is what's happening in the world now, and we would appreciate it if this didn't tamper with you know
What we have.
the tradition of Princeton University. So yeah, that could have been an option,
Yeah.
definitely, instead of just saying, you know what, 133 years, we're just going to get rid of the honor code, and
Yeah.
because to me, that's saying you don't trust your children if you just sit here and just get rid of it. How about just doing a better job at keeping up with the times to make sure that it don't happen again, and just trust that that the children want to be there, the kids want to be there enough to do the right thing. So
Yeah. Or you don't
definitely.
trust your process, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the organization, the educational institution, you allow, like, again, kids go through, I fill out the application, I do essays, videos, whatever the case may be. And you say, yep, you are the one, you're accepted into Princeton. But there has to be a flaw in your process if you're not capturing that behavioral component, right? So instead of
Right.
saying addressing the problem, you're addressing it by saying, okay, well, we're going to go to the other end of the extreme. You're missing an opportunity to teach a child or to teach a young adult a good lesson of, again, being a trustworthy person.
Yeah, and I mean they pledge against that too. Like after every exam or after every test, their words is they handwrite. I pledge my honor that I have not violated the honor
Yep.
code during this examination. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So you have to trust that your kids wouldn't go against that. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, if they did use AI, it ain't no reason why they should be handwriting that. You know what I'm saying? But the fact that they have to do that after every exam, you should have some type of trust in what's being built at Princeton University. I wanted to go back towards what you said about the social media thing, right? A lot
Mhm.
of people don't understand the pressure of that. I
Mhm.
know, I have made a promise as a peer to my peers to if I catch any misconduct to report that. But everything isn't just discreet no more. You know what I'm saying? Like if
Mm-mm.
if, if somebody if somebody found out, oh yeah, somebody told on you, they gonna know exactly who. They gonna know eventually that they're going to know exactly who snitched on
Yep.
them, right? And
Yep.
then now you have social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever. And now, next thing you know, they're going on those social media platforms
Mhm.
and dragging their name in the mud, slamming them on social
Yep.
networks, and possibly creating a bad reputation for them. So it's not
Mhm.
like they don't want to say anything. They just don't want to deal with the pressure that the
Yep.
faculty wouldn't have to deal with. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So that's something we have to keep in mind too. So it's a reason why, when you look at the data, 40% or more witness somebody cheating. They just chose not to say nothing specifically because of that.
There was a
So
term that that article used, called doxing or something, and I'm like, "What is that?" Um,
that term do sound familiar. I came across it probably once.
and so in that particular article, because they said people or kids were, young adults were scared to come forth because, again, the no snitch, culture, and just being doxing and then being bullied. And I was like, okay, what's doxing? And so what I found was that, again, and we've seen it, when a person is getting doxxed, that means that you're not only bullying them on social media, you're like revealing personal information about them.
Mm,
Like,
okay.
without their consent. So, like, my license plate, my where I work, where I live even. And so, we've seen people take these things a little bit too far, right?
Hmm.
You have people outside your house, you have people stalking you, you have, just all kind of behavior going on. And
Yeah.
so it's a safety concern. And a lot of these students are like, I don't want those problems. Being in college is enough for me. I don't have time to get harassed or, again, people just showing up doing things that'll put my safety at risk.
Hmm.
Now, here's the other part to that article that I found a little bit interesting, where there were students that actually confirmed that they had used AI and cheated.
Yeah.
So I
Yep.
want to cheat.
Hmm.
And why would I tell somebody? Why would I tell a survey that was being because I think the information came via survey that
From a survey.
there. And you had the students that said 30%. So that means the rest of the students, the majority of students, either decided not to admit or they're not actually cheating. So now
Hmm.
you made a rule, if we look at the statistics for the smaller population of you changed a cultural norm for 30% of your population that you
Yeah.
surveyed.
And I feel like that was unnecessary just because of the history that was there.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I mean a century, over a century, that's a long
That's a long
time to
time.
hold on, like to have a system, and that's how the system have been done.
Yeah.
Um for the past 133 years, and going back to what we said, only thing that had to be done was some things had to change with y'all system. Y'all just had to
That's it.
adjust with the times. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Instead of just saying, you know what, because that's and the only reason I keep like pointing at that is because that's a lot of time, like holding
Yeah.
on to a tradition. And in one incident, or I'm not gonna say, maybe it was multiple incidents, but like you said, Tiff, 30%. I don't feel like that was enough to say, you know what, we're just gonna, forget about this tradition,
Yep.
and for now, we're just gonna have teachers in the exam room monitoring and taking notes
Hmm.
of misconduct.
Yep.
And some people would even argue that having people in the exam room is actually a gift, because now uh the young adult isn't responsible for keeping an eye on someone else plus trying
Yep.
to do good on this exam. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
now, by there being someone in the space, they don't have to worry about paying attention to somebody and being on the edge of, should I tell, should I not tell, and
Yeah.
they can just focus 100% on what they have to do to pass that exam. So do you
Yep.
feel like do you feel like they could have kept that tradition and just had people in there when because that was part of the tradition, was not having
Yeah.
people in there with them? But do you feel like that's possibly a gift by them just having, what I'm saying,
Oh
people in
yeah.
there now currently, what I'm saying, to monitor the kids?
Yeah. It takes that pressure off of, like, literally you've stripped the authority away from the students to, or the I would say, the not authority, the responsibility. And
Hmm.
so again, I'm just going to focus on me and passing this exam. But
Yeah.
one thing that this whole overall story did cause me to think on the other end of the spectrum was was this the first time that something like this happened? Meaning, has the honor system always been so honorable,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Because AI is just an extension of, again, some of the technological advancements that we've had over the years, right? Did they ban calculators, right? Did they ban the internet, right? There are some things that, again, you could have more control over, but I'm just wondering, like, has this honor system always
Been
been
yeah,
great?
been always been honored. You know what I'm saying? Has it always been
Yeah.
perfect? So you mean to tell me this is the first
Nobody's
hiccup?
cheated up until
Nobody
now.
has ever cheated in over a century. No, that's something to think about. Now it is. I forgot the name of the schools. I think Duke was one of them, and I think
Mhm,
well, it was another one that had implemented these changes or implemented some changes maybe 2 3 years ago. And
mhm,
Princeton just now are implementing changes. Now they didn't say anything. I'm not sure if those particular schools have traditions that have been done for years. Prior to AI, but they did make changes in 2 3 years ago, and Princeton just now starting to make that change because of this incident. But also, we got to keep in mind too is that sometimes that's just a moral or principle code of just some
mhm.
individuals to not
Yeah.
tell on somebody else. You know what I'm saying? I know I was raised like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh boy, stop telling. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I was brought up. So that's how I know. Like, shit, if I was in Princeton and I seen somebody, man, hey, do you, man? Shit, I can't really, but that's just a moral
Mhm.
and sometimes a principle that people live by. Um, so yeah, Tiff, I think all in all, if you had final thoughts for this subject, like what would be your final thoughts, like closing out on this Princeton University cheating situation?
I think that we're starting to see a bigger issue as it pertains to AI, right?
Mhm.
And the bigger issue um, literally isn't about the technology itself. It's the human element and really understanding with clarity, right? When it's appropriate and when it's not appropriate to use.
Yeah.
We're still trying to flush that out because in school, the educational institutions want to teach the information, prepare the students, but students are finishing college and not being able to find a job because organizations or companies on the other end are in a rush or in a race to integrate AI, right?
Yeah.
And so there seems to be a disconnect with that and really understanding when is it appropriate to use it and making sure that the educational institutions are developing adults that are ready for the workforce.
You know what, Tip? Before we close out, what you feel about this idea, right? Because as we always say, AI
Mhm.
is something everybody should implement. Realistically though, you should always talk to AI, conversate with AI so it can get to know you as a person. And then most importantly, you should be creating some type of systems with the artificial intelligence that's available. Um, Now, what if maybe it was a propose? What if they proposed this? Like, look, okay, we understand AI is prevalent in the year of 2026, right?
Mhm.
And we realize that we can't stop our students from utilizing the technology, right? So what if during their testing, right, they give, maybe 3 to 5 chances. Say like it's a question that's very difficult and they feel like they know the answer, but maybe they need a second opinion or something, and they have the option to go to ChatGPT, maybe Gemini, whatever, and ask ChatGPT or at least talk to it enough as far as getting that answer. As far as I'm trying to see if they would have certain prompts to where it's not necessarily giving them the answer, but helping them solve that problem. But figuring out a way where they can use it, a certain amount of times during their exam to help with certain problems. Do you think that
I
could
would,
be?
yeah, I would say they would have to articulate the idea first. So you have to show proof that you understand
Mm,
whatever the concept is. So it's not, hey, what's the answer to A, B, C, D?
right, right,
It's,
yeah,
hey,
exactly.
how should I articulate this? Here's the question. Here's what I'm thinking the answer is based upon. right, what I read here, and the notes that I've taken, right? So they have to prove, it's like proof of concept. They have to prove they have some conceptual understanding of
Mm-hmm.
what's being asked of them. I would say in that instance, you're not just asking it for a shortcut, you're giving it something to work with and say, hey, how can I enhance my answer to
Exactly.
really show what
Mm-hmm.
like strictly based upon the information that I fed you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to give it something to work with, but it's only going to work with what you give it and not
Yeah.
go externally. It does,
I was
you know
finished.
what I mean?
Yeah, like it's making you work. Like it's helping you brainstorm,
Yes.
but making you work for the answer instead of just giving it to you. You know what I'm saying? So
And it's
certain prompts
also
are
helping
given.
students to use that as a brainstorming tool and not just a quick answer.
Yeah,
Hey, what's the
yeah.
thing?
Yeah, like how you would use a calculator. Yeah, 2 plus 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
4. No, we're not doing that. Like, yeah, we giving y'all the option to utilize AI simply because we understand that you can't avoid it. But the caveat is you can't just ask the AI, what's the answer to this?
Mhm.
Bounce off of each other. You throw it an idea, the AI throw you an idea back and forth until you brainstorm enough to where you come up with your answer. And I think that would be a solid system. You know what I'm saying? Instead of them sneaking off using it, they
Mhm.
have the opportunity to use it, but instead it's gonna act like a brainstorming partner to help you get through that particular question.
And what if Princeton developed their own AI system where
Mm.
all the test answers were fed into this system? You have students that sit down and they spar with, not spar, but hey, the computer asks you a question, you give it an answer based upon, again, you have to provide the context.
Hmm.
You know what I
That's
mean?
that's fire. That's fire. You know what I'm saying? It's forcing you to think and not just giving it to you. Cause I think that'd be the downfall for real. I feel like that's the only way AI can really dumb you down is when you don't really use it as a partner, and instead it's just
Yeah.
a quick, yeah, it's just a machine to you where you can get a quick answer and you don't really think for real. So that system is actually fire, Tiff. I like that. So yeah, man, I was this conversation I felt was I looked at it, I'm like, okay, this could be interesting,
Yeah.
let's talk about this. But I'm excited to see the response from this, the feedback from the people. So make sure y'all follow Tiff, make sure y'all follow myself. IG links are in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you can be notified on future content. And as always, y'all, as long as we see support, we will continue to keep creating the content. On top of the technology, is just something that we have to be updated on. So it gives us a job to be able to provide that for y'all. So without that being said, y'all, life is good. Life is wonderful. Be blessed to be alive. Self-sufficiency is how you survive. To the kings and queens, to the guys and goddess forever and always, think successfully. Sex.